Hi, my name is Krishnan. I'm CEO at Geektrust, and thank you once again for coming for our Get Set Geektrust session. Uh, this is a job search orientation plus clean code workshop that we'll cover as part of the session. But before that, I'll do a quick intro about Geektrust and give you insight into what sort of opportunities we have and what's different about Geektrust. Okay, so intro about Geektrust is we have been around for about close to 7+ years now. Uh, my own background is I used to work at ThoughtWorks, was there for about 10 years, left ThoughtWorks and started up with Geektrust. We have more than 150,000 developers registered with Geektrust, and we have 100+ companies and close to 1,000 positions open right now on Geektrust. We are primarily a developer hiring platform. So we help developers find jobs and we help companies hire developers. But we also do help with QA, SDET, DevOps, data engineering as well, anything within the technology space. So we are primarily focused on technology hiring. Primarily, mostly we do technology hiring. So that's what we do at Geektrust. There's a different way in which we look at candidates, the different way in which we identify who's got the potential to find good jobs and so on, which I'll cover in a bit. But before we get going into the nuances of how Geektrust works, let's look at what opportunities exist at Geektrust. As many of you probably know, there's been a lull in the market in the recent past, last 2 to 3 months and so on. However, as much as there are companies who are not hiring, there are more companies that are actually hiring. A lot of companies have opportunities right now which are open. And our job at Geektrust is to go find those opportunities and bring them in front of you. I'm just going to show you a couple of opportunities here, a few opportunities here, and just call out. These are just example opportunities, but just to give you a sense of the quality of the jobs available in the market right now. So Talent 500 is a startup. They're based out of Bangalore and I think Abu Dhabi. They are looking for backend developers, right? And the backend developers are anywhere between junior developers at 1 year to senior developers at 8 years. Location could be Bangalore, and I think they are right now hiring for Abu Dhabi as well. The pay packages can go up to 75, 80 lakhs as well. The second job that I'm highlighting here is one by Villa Plus. Villa Plus is a London and not London, I think UK and Pune-based company that is looking to hire C# developers, full stack developers, and the opportunities are both for Pune as well as for the UK. And here also the UK salaries are in the go up to 70 lakhs, 80 lakhs, and so on. And they have multiple positions open. Both these opportunities have a bunch of position open. And to give you insight into an opportunity with a well-funded startup, Clarisight, again, a London and Bangalore-based company. They're looking for data engineers, they're looking for senior backend developers, and salaries go up to 50, 60 lakhs also. So this is just to give you insight as to what opportunities exist at Geektrust. While you've probably heard about the lull, there are enough opportunities happening as well. Some of you may have heard of Inframarket. Inframarket is a unicorn. Location, I think this particular card shows Chennai, but they have openings across Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, and starting from SC1, which is software engineer 1, going up to lead engineer. Again, salary bands go upwards of 50 lakhs. Kelido is a AI-powered platform startup, primarily based out of Gurugram, but they are open to remote as well. The salary bands you can see here. These are just some examples, and we have a lot more opportunities like this. And while I've called out some of the startups and product companies, there are a lot of opportunities with enterprises too. So we work with Siemens, we work with Tesco, we're working with ThoughtWorks. There's a Mumbai-based large product company called eClerks that we work with. There's a gaming startup called So Strong that we work with. So there are a lot of opportunities available. And to call out the first one over here, Self Health America is a US-based startup where you work for the US-based startup out of Bangalore remotely. We also have what we call Geektrust Labs, wherein you work for Geektrust primarily, which is the salaries are paid out by Geektrust, but you might end up working on startups like a Self Health America or a Dataco based out of Australia and so on. There are a bunch of opportunities available at Geektrust. a lot of exciting work. And to reiterate, not just smaller companies or product companies, even large enterprises. We work with TCS, we work with ThoughtWorks, and so on. A lot of opportunities available here. So for those who are actively looking in the market, there are enough opportunities, and we got your back there. There's lots of options available for you, depending on location, depending on what your technology stack is, and so on. Now, why is Geektrust different? What do we do to enable developers to find jobs? So we work with Intuit as well. Intuit, I don't think is actively hiring now, but as an example, I'm calling it out. We used to work with Intuit, and Intuit works, or rather, Intuit hires mostly people from similar product companies, or from the top colleges, the top 5 IITs in India, and so on. However, we have placed people who are not from a product company or from the top 5 IITs as well with Intuit. And the reason is, fundamentally, philosophically, we believe that the resume that all of us create, right, for our own purposes for finding jobs, the first step in this process, it is flawed. A lot of really good developers end up getting rejected at the first step in the hiring process. And truth be told, to be honest, who likes writing resumes? I mean, just let me know, is there anybody on this call right now who likes to write resumes? I, for one, I've never enjoyed putting a resume together. And I know that a lot of developer friends I have, none of them like writing resumes. This person you see on screen, his name is Malay Mehta. He's one of the early users of Geektrust. He studied in a Gujarati medium school. He was working at a small company based out of Gujarat. He applied to a lot of companies in Bangalore, and he got rejected, either because based on his resume, or in the initial screening round because his English was not the best. To be a good developer, the ability to speak English, while important, is not the primary agenda, right? You need to be able to write really good code. So how do we help somebody like Malay, who's got the skills, but unable to articulate that in his written resume or in the screening calls, find good opportunities? My personal belief is that there are a lot of really good developers who are very, very talented in India who don't get the opportunities they deserve. Software development is a space where passion plays a big part. How do you manifest that passion in your resume? It's really, really hard to do, right? Even for those of us who are really good with our English, it's really, really hard to put all that together into a resume. So we said, you know what, developers are they're more than what their resume shows, your current resume shows. A Word document, which is written and has past experience and what you have done, does that really reflect all that you can do? Again, this is another early user of Geektrust. She also had the same challenge. And what we think is, it's time to go beyond the traditional resume. It's time to go beyond the traditional resume and build out the new resume, which reflects the skills that you have, the potential that you have. So here's a snapshot of what the new resume has. The new resume contains an overview about you, but importantly, it also has your skill sets embedded in it. If you look initially, you see this section called the code summary. So at Geektrust, what we ask you to do is, yeah, sure, you can write up a traditional resume, which talks about your past experience, but show us your code. Irrespective of where you're working today, irrespective of where you studied, what degree you have, if you can write good code, we will build out the new resume based on the code that you have, showing companies what are your skill sets, what coding problem did you solve, what sort of badges have you earned, and even a link to see your code if they want to. And believe me, a lot of companies are moving away from the traditional resume and looking at the Geektrust, the new resume, as a way to shortlist candidates. If this candidate can write good code, why should I worry about what college they studied at or where they're working today? So the new resume is our way to manifest a developer skills in the right fashion, showcasing your actual skills, showcasing the potential you have. And in many cases, we also do interviews of candidates, and we provide snapshot of the interviews of the candidates too in the resume that we create that is shared with companies. The new resume opens up channels that probably would not have opened up earlier. I've had multiple cases of developers who have applied to a company but never heard back then applying to the same company via Geektrust and the new resume, and them actually landing that job. I think we have enough testimonies on our website or on a LinkedIn page about all these examples. In fact, in our last call, the last Get Set Geektrust session, we even had a civil engineer who had not been working for 8 months, who used to work in a support role at Cognizant, find a job at a high impact agri-tech startup within days of solving a problem at Geektrust and building out the new resume. So I'll keep it short. So this is the overview about us. We help developers find jobs, and we help you find jobs after you build out the new resume. And to build out the new resume, you need to take up a Geektrust coding challenge. So in the next parts of the session, we'll show you how to use the Geektrust product. We'll talk about what is a Geektrust coding challenge and how to go about solving it. And finally, we'll tell you what you need to do as next steps. Okay. So I'm handing it over to my colleague Namrata, who's a principal product manager at Geektrust, to take things forward.
Great, thanks, Krishnan. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I hope you all can see it. Yeah. Okay. So good morning, everyone. I'm here to talk to you about how you can accelerate your job search journey with Geektrust. So just before we get started, I'd love to know, what are you looking forward to learning about the Geektrust product today? Dennis, if we can have a poll up quickly, and let me just, yeah. So there's a poll up on your screens. Please go ahead and tell us what you're looking to understand about the Geektrust platform. And see some responses coming in. Yeah. So I think we've gotten most of the responses in. Dennis, can we share the results? Great. So I think like most of us are looking at trying to figure out all of the above, which is, how to find the right opportunities, how to solve a Geektrust coding challenge, how to improve the code, right? So we're going to cover all of that today. So let me start with the most important part of getting started on Geektrust, right? Which is keeping your Geektrust profile up to date. So this is an absolutely critical step, because when you keep your Geektrust profile up to date, it helps us get the right opportunities to you. It helps us recommend the right kind of opportunities based on your skill sets and based on your interest, right? So you come to Geektrust, you click on your profile here, and then you start filling it up. So as part of the Geektrust profile, you start off by telling us a little bit about, what's your current primary role? Are you a backend engineer, front-end engineer, full stack developer, etc.? Tell us how many years of experience you have, and tell us about your primary skills, right? So these are the skills that you're most comfortable with. This is what you've used in your prior job. So give us insight into, what your primary skills are. Tell us a little bit about, are you a beginner, an intermediate, or expert at that particular skill? How many years have you worked on that, on that technology? And you can also give us a lot of your additional skills. So you can come in here and tell us that, maybe you also have some experience with Scala, or maybe you have some experience with Python, right? Or you have experience with, let's say, Agile as an overall methodology. So you can come and tell us a lot about the additional skills that you have, and go ahead and upload your traditional resume, right? And like we said at Geektrust, your traditional resume is just a very small part of the equation. We'd help you create that new resume, which is what we'll cover a little later as well. Once you're done filling in details about your experience and your expertise, the next thing to do is to tell us a little bit about where you're currently located. Are you working remotely right now? What is your phone number, your gender, your LinkedIn account, GitHub account? These just help really enrich your profile further, because we will showcase your LinkedIn account, your GitHub account, etc. to companies as well. It helps us build a better rounded view of who you are and what you've done, right? The next thing to do is to go ahead and add your work and education history details. So you can go and tell us, where all have you worked? You might have switched multiple jobs. So you can go in, enter your company name, your position, what are you working as right now? What type of company is it? Is it a product, services, startup company? When were you working there? right? So you can indicate all of this as part of your employment timeline. You could also tell us a little bit about where you studied. So where did you study? What degree did you get? And what course, year of passing, etc. These again are just additional pieces of information. They are not really critical in helping us find you a job, but it just helps us sort of refine what we recommend to you. Right. And I know a lot of you might have a lot of projects that you're working on, or you might have written blogs about different things, right? So go and add those over here as well. So you can go ahead and tell us, if you have a blog that you've written, attach the link of the blog. You could also attach a paper or a project or anything else you worked on. Yeah. The next part of this is to tell us a little bit about your preferences, right? So a big part of your job search journey is, what do you want to work on next? So what kind of opportunities really excite you? So you can tell us what type of role you want to play next. Do you want to play a backend engineer role? Do you want to play a full stack developer role? What domains are you interested in, right? So a lot of you may be interested in fintech, or you may be interested in agri-tech, right? Or ed tech. You can go ahead and tell us that, so that we can curate the right kind of opportunities for you. And what type of tech would you like to work on? Would you like to work on Java, Python, or any other tech, right? We have a host of technologies. There's some recommendations based on my profile so far, but we have opportunities across a host of technology stacks, right? So you can go in here and start entering whatever technologies interest you, so that we can find the right opportunities for you. And then finally, tell us a little bit about your preference with where you want to work. So you might be working in Bangalore today, but you may be open to working in Pune or Chennai, or maybe you want to work in Delhi. So you can tell us a little bit about where you want to work, and also what your work from office preference is. Do you prefer only remote opportunities? Are you open to working from office? Or do you prefer a hybrid work setup, right? Or maybe you're open to anything. So you can come and tell us a little bit about your preferences. Staying with expectations, you can also tell us a little bit about what kind of opportunity you're looking for from a culture standpoint, right? So for example, maybe you want to work in a company which has a lot of social impact opportunities, or maybe you're looking for a company with great work-life balance. So you can tell us that as well. What kind of role do you want to play? Do you want to be a manager? Do you want to be an individual contributor? Do you want to be a freelancer? So you could tell us a little bit about that as well. And you may have a preference, right? You may want to work in a startup, or you may want to work in a services company or a product company. So you could tell us that as well. Once you're done telling us about your expectations or your preferences, the next bit is to move on to talking about your salary. So here you tell us, what are you being paid today, and what do you expect from your new job? And also tell us a little bit about your notice period. Are you serving notice period today? And if so, when are you likely to join? And if you're not serving notice period, how long is your notice period? Again, it helps us really curate the right kind of opportunities for you. The last part is the communication preferences. So you can go in and talk about, what can we reach out to you for? At Geektrust, we're very thoughtful in our communication to all of you, right? So we don't want to send you things that you don't want to receive. So you can go in and tell us a little bit about what kind of communication you'd like to receive. Right? So this is the entire piece of creating a profile. Some things that we highly recommend is, one is you do subscribe to handpicked jobs. Here, what we do is we ensure we find the right opportunities that completely match your profile and deliver that to your inbox. So this is an example where we figured out a job that is the right match for you, where they are hiring very actively, and that lands up in your inbox, and you can apply directly from here by clicking on that button. Right. So we highly recommend you keep that setting on, so that you get curated opportunities for you in your inbox. And we also recommend that you come in and give us consent to send you WhatsApp messages. Again, we do not spam. We will only send you really important updates that help you with your job search journey. So this is about updating your profile, right? The next big thing that we'd look at is, how do you find the right jobs on Geektrust? So you can go here to the jobs platform. And then what you would do is you'd see all the opportunities that we have curated for you. So the difference between Geektrust and a traditional job search platform is you're probably used to seeing a lot of opportunities that may not always be the right match for you, right? But at Geektrust, we take a lot of careful care to figure out what are the right opportunities that are completely a match for your profile. And we recommend those opportunities to you, right? And we curate these opportunities based on the profile that you filled up earlier, but you have the ability to go in and add more filters and try to find the kind of opportunities that really interest you. So I'll go through that in a little bit, but let me show you how to apply for a job in Geektrust. So, so one of the key things that at Geektrust we care about is making sure that all of you have a job search journey that is not frustrating, that is not disappointing, that's not full of black holes and ghosting, right? Like that's how typically the journey is. You apply to 200 companies and maybe you hear back from one, right? If at all. And you wait for so long to hear back from companies and you don't know whether they're proceeding with your profile or not proceeding with your profile. So it's all just a bit of a black hole, and there's no clarity on the process. So we take that very seriously here. So we make sure that your entire journey is filled with transparency and clarity. So is the company moving forward with you or not? Why are they not moving forward? What is your next step to get them to move forward with you? So that entire piece is something that we take care of. So to demonstrate a little bit about that, I'm going to show you how to apply to a job on Geektrust. So like I said, come to your jobs section, use your filters if you want to refine the jobs further, find a job that interests you. So right now I'm going to show you this with Geektrust itself. So I'll show you how to apply to a company like Geektrust. So when you come here, you can see all the details about the job. You can see the technologies, what kind of organization is it, what are the responsibilities that you will have in this particular company if you get this job. You can also read up further about the company by clicking on company details. And we have an entire microsite about the company, which tells you more information, right? Like how many employees, what is this company? What does this company do? What are all the technologies used? What are the domains that this company works in? And you can see the entire process as well. So, how many rounds of interview is there going to be on when you apply to this company? And then finally, you can see the open positions that are currently there, right? And each JD you can read in a little more detail. Apart from just telling you some facts about the company, we've also curated information on what's interesting about this company. So what is interesting? Why should you work here? What is great about the culture? So you can read up all of this to understand, and you can also read up blogs and articles about the company that you see here. Right? So this is accessible for all jobs that are available on Geektrust. So coming back here, once you narrow in on a job and decide to apply to the job, you go ahead with the process of applying. So if you're applying to a job for the first time on Geektrust, we take you through a 4-step application process. But I'm just going to show you that. But from next time onwards, we've made it simpler, right? So when you're applying from the second job onwards, it's just a one-click apply. So let me show you the 4-step process. So when you apply, you can go here and make sure all your information is up to date. So your years of experience, your primary role, your phone number, your location preferences. Most of you would have filled this in your profile as already. So it's just about confirming this information. Go in and upload your resume if you haven't uploaded it already. Enter your tech skills. And then tell us, confirm your current employer details, right? Where were you working before? What kind of company was it? What is your work from office preferences? And then finally, a little bit more about your notice period and your salary, right? So go ahead and indicate your notice period and your salary. If you filled your profile before, this is just a direct apply. You don't have to go ahead and fill it in. But in case you missed filling in something, this is a chance for you to refill that in. And when you finish, you click on apply. And what we try to do is now we analyze your application and tell you what the next steps are. So you notice here that when I applied to this company, it actually tells me that my application is likely to get rejected. So this is one way in which we provide transparency and clarity to you, right? So you can see that your application to Geektrust is likely to get rejected. And you can see that there are some criteria which do not match the company's requirements. So you can go ahead and take a look and see what are those issues. So you see here that Geektrust requires candidates to be skilled in Java and Spring Boot. But you've not mentioned Java and Spring Boot. You've only mentioned Java in your profile. You've not mentioned Spring Boot in your profile. The other reason that you're likely to be rejected is because Geektrust requires candidates with a notice period of 1 month, right? So this gives you an avenue to sit back and think, saying, oh, did I miss adding Spring Boot to my profile? And in this case, yes, I did. I forgot to add Spring Boot to my profile, which is why it's not here. So if I just added it, maybe I would have gotten an opportunity to interview at Geektrust, right? And secondly, I know that maybe I know that my current company is open to negotiating a notice period. I've noticed prior ex-colleagues leave in 1 month instead of 2 months, right? In most job platforms, when you put forward your application, they would have seen your notice period, they would have seen your technologies and decided you were not a match and gone ahead and not processed you, right? But by giving you this clarity, we give you the chance to think about this and make sure your profile is up to date and also negotiate on some of the things that you might be open to negotiating on. So I can go here and add another skill. So in this case, I know I have that experience in Spring Boot. Right? It's just that I forgot to add it in my profile. So I can go ahead and add that in. And also, I know that my notice period is negotiable. I have seen that, I've seen my ex-colleagues leave in a month, right? So I go ahead and indicate that my notice period is negotiable and I go ahead and apply again. So now we'll go ahead and submit our application. And great. So now my application went through, right? So now it tells you that, your application has gone through, and it also tells you what the next step is. So the next step is to solve a Geektrust coding challenge, and it tells you which coding challenge to solve. So we have multiple Geektrust coding challenges. So it tells you which coding challenge to solve in what timeline. And we're also telling you that this company will not consider your application without solving the Geektrust challenge. So you get to know whether your application has gone through or not, what the next steps are, and why it hasn't gone through in case it hasn't. And in your jobs dashboard, you also get a full view into which companies have you applied to. And you can see that, the next step here is that this company is waiting for you to take a coding challenge. You'll also get an email telling you the same. And you can also go ahead and look at other stages. Once companies take you forward, you get to look at other stages, right, in your jobs platform. Cool. So this was about jobs. Just before I move on, I just wanted to quickly also run a poll to see what tech stacks do you all want to work on in your next job. Dennis, can we launch that poll? Ooh, I see a lot of Java, Python, and React coming up. Let's wait for a few more seconds to get more entrants in. Oh, cool, fantastic. Okay, so we're seeing a lot of Java, Python, and React primarily, and some Node.js, right? So the way to find the right kind of jobs is to go to your filters, and you can further filter your job, right? So for example, if you're looking for React jobs, then you can go in here and say that you're looking for either a front end or a full stack position maybe, and you're looking for React. And then you can go and apply this, and then you will see opportunities that we currently have for React developers across different locations. Although here I've applied a filter of Bangalore, but you can choose to remove that, and you can find opportunities in other locations as well. And you can see that another part of us making things clear for you is we've also tried to figure out, what the salary ranges are, and we have shown you the salary ranges up front as well, so that you get an insight into what the company is willing to offer. Yeah, so that's about jobs on Geektrust. The next critical step for you is to build your code portfolio. Like Krishnan spoke about, this is where you really create your new resume, where you can go and choose a coding challenge on Geektrust. And you can look at the coding challenge, understand it, and go ahead and upload code. So I'm not going to go into how to upload code or how to understand a challenge right now, because that's what Sebin is going to cover. My colleague Sebin is going to go through that in the next session. But a key thing to remember is it's one code that rules it all on Geektrust. I'm sure that as part of your job search journey, a lot of you have had to take multiple coding tests for each company that you're applying to. But on Geektrust, you essentially need to take one coding test where we help you showcase all your skills. And with that one test, you get access to 100 plus companies on Geektrust. Yeah. And we help you build your code portfolio based on that. Great. So that's essentially about the job search journey and code on Geektrust. What I also wanted to quickly talk about is just recap what we spoke about right now, that the new job search on Geektrust is where you see only matching companies. We curate high match companies and send them to you on your inbox and place them for you on the jobs dashboard. When you apply, you get complete clarity and transparency as part of the process. Even if a company is moving slow, we will tell you that the company is moving slow so that you have full clarity on what's happening with your application. You need to solve a Geektrust coding challenge, but you need to solve it only once, right? And as part of the process, we keep giving you feedback. So it's not a test that you take in isolation and don't get to know what happened. On Geektrust, you solve the challenge. We will give you feedback on what you've done well, how you can improve, and you can keep improving your code. And Seven will walk through that in a bit. And finally, you get support from and guidance from Geektrust, right? So we have a bunch of job search allies. So these are our different account managers who are there on Geektrust, and they're here to handhold you through this journey, right? So they will work with you. Once you apply to a company, the account manager of that company will stay in constant touch with you, will help you understand more about what the company is expecting, will talk to you about what the interview process is like and what to expect, right? So our account managers will stay in constant touch so that you never feel like you're on your own in this process. And we also have a lot of community and support channels. So we have our Geektrust community, which is the League of Developers, which has all of our prior users, developers who've gotten jobs through us before. There are developers who've created coding challenges for us, developers who have taken interviews on our behalf, right? So there's a lot you can do in the Geektrust community to give back to the developer community. And you can join the community by with this link and getting onto Discord. So I'll just show you the Discord channel. So you can come in here. Even through this process, anywhere if you're stuck, you can put in your questions, queries, product feedback, etc. on Discord, and someone from our team will definitely get back to you, right? And if you're interested in doing more for the community, like taking interviews, designing coding challenges, etc., this is a great place to come and start engaging on that as well. Yeah, and we're also reachable always on help@geektrust.in, which is our email account, as well as on WhatsApp, right? So you can send us an email, send us a WhatsApp message, or send us a message on Discord, and someone from our team will always be in touch with you. And you can see Shreya, Mamta, and Dennis are here to sort of support you through this journey, wherever you get stuck. So yeah, that's pretty much what I had to cover. I'm now going to hand over to Seven, who will talk about how to build your new resume with clean code. So Seven, over to you.
Hey, thanks, Namrata. Hi, guys. I'm Sebin, and I'm a software developer at Geektrust, and I will be talking about what clean code is and the significance of applying clean code principles in your code to make it even better. So let me share my screen. Hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So before I start explaining about what clean code is, we would like to know what kind of audience we have today. So Dennis will start a poll to identify what kind of developers we have today here. There will be different roles. Dennis, can you please start the poll? Yeah. Please fill in what type of developer you are, or what type of developer you are looking to become. Yeah, we see a lot of backend developers here today. Full stack too. Okay. Okay, we see a lot of backend developers are in majority today. So let's move on to the next slide. So as Namrata mentioned, so we only need to solve only one challenge in Geektrust. So which differentiates us from most of the other online coding challenge platforms. Even if you have backend, frontend, or mobile developer, you only need to solve one challenge of that particular type. And all the challenges in Geektrust are non-competitive types. You don't need to compete with any other developer. It's just a competition between yourself. You need to improve your code better, run test, and make your code even better. And we see a lot of questions coming up on how to write clean code, how to write code, on which IDE to use. So you can use VS Code, which is the most popular one and most commonly used, or IntelliJ or Eclipse for Java developers, and PyCharm for Python developers. So it's not based on the IDE you use. It's the end goal is to develop a command line application which outputs the desired statements. So whenever we write Geektrust challenges, we don't need a server or any connection to a DB or any third-party applications. So it's a pure command line applications that we need to develop. So consider it like developing a feature in your company or writing production quality software. That's the end goal of solving Geektrust coding challenges. You can once you solve one challenge, you can run your test multiple times, and we will provide feedbacks each time you run test, and you can analyze those feedbacks and improve your code even better. And then finally, if you believe that your code is at the maximum level of improvement that you are able to do, then you submit the code, and then we will get back to you with an evaluation. So one important point to note when you submit code is, when you write code, is not to copy anyone else's code. So we take plagiarism very seriously, and you will get a lifetime ban if you find out your code is plagiarized. Okay, so these are the key points to note while solving Geektrust coding challenges. So next up, I would before talking about clean code, I would like to have another poll. So to know how many of you know about clean code. Have you heard about it, or do you currently work by writing clean code, or does your company insist on writing clean code? Yeah. Okay. Most of you have heard about clean code, and you want to learn about the detail. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You guys said you try to follow the principles. So let's dig deeper into what is clean code and try to understand how to apply these clean code principles to your code base. Okay, there are a lot of you guys who want to learn in detail also. Okay, let's go right in. Okay, then what is clean code? So I would like to define it in two terms, that is readable and maintainable. So the code that you write, it should be understandable to another team member, to your colleague, or some months down the lane. When you come back and look at your code, you should be able to figure out the purpose of the code that you wrote. Also maintainable in the sense, suppose if you want to build a feature on top of your code, a new feature, it shouldn't affect or it shouldn't have any side effects on the other components of the code. It should be done on a single component, and we should isolate that component so that we should reduce the maintenance overhead. And it should be a code that can be read easily, changed easily, and maintained. So the intent is to have simple and concise functions or variables that you write. It should be in accordance with real world scenarios also. Like suppose if you are writing a class or writing an action, it should provide the intent of the statement or statement of the function you are writing. and variables should have definite meanings. So one thing is how definite meanings for your when you write code. It should be expressive, should be readable, and it should be maintainable all over the time. Okay, so why clean code matters? So what is the use of applying clean code when you write your code? So considering the software life cycle, so after the planning and design stage comes the implementation, which is building the product. We write code and we build the product. So all the next steps, that the stages that come after implementation, depends mostly on how we build the product. So if the building stage is feasible and maintainable, the rest of the stages will be easy going. It will ease up the next processes. Okay. So how will we do that? How will we build a code base that will be easy to maintain? So while applying clean code principle, it will be easy to read and understand the code. So suppose you hand over your project to some other developer, and if they are able to identify the purpose of the code, or what you intend to uh, do using by writing that code, they're able to understand. It will be easier for them to make the changes and to spot bugs in your code, and that will in turn make bug fixes faster. So which will reduce the maintenance over cost, and it will enable any developer to build features on top of your product that you currently have built. Okay, so we talked about the advantages of writing clean code. Okay, how do we go on about writing clean code? So there are various concepts, various principles we need to follow, and I'll be talking about almost 6 of them. So the initial step, the first step that we need to consider when we write clean code is to have a proper naming convention. So we used to write variables, functions, packages. So let it be packages or file names. Any name that we give to a statement or a literal, let's make it expressive, so that we know the purpose of that function or that variable. So since we are the authors, so we should keep in mind that we write this code for the audience. Like audience in the sense, it can be a team member, or it can be yourself. After you some time passes and you come back and you get a code, you should be able to understand what you wrote 5 or 6 months back. So next step is to avoid magic numbers. So what are magic numbers? Suppose most of the time when we write a code to solve a simple problem, or try to output how to get the output correct, we try to add constants like string constants, or integer constant, like in a for loop, I equal to 0, I less than 600 or 700. The meaning of 700 is not known. Why did we write 700? We don't know. So we should separate out these magic numbers and maybe put this in a constants file, or have meaningful names for these constants, so that anyone can understand this. And the third one is modularization, writing modular programs. I believe modularization is the core concept in clean code. We should break up huge complex functions into simple chunks, so that it will be easier to debug, test, and maintain the code base. Okay, like I mentioned, one related thing is to keep it simple and short. Whenever we write functions, try to be more concise in writing them. Keep it small, so that it can be reused all over the code base or by most of the components. And related to that fact, don't try to repeat these small functions you write. Suppose one function is common for like 10 components. We intend to copy this function and attribute it to that component itself. So when this happens, if you hand over your project to someone else, the developer will also do the same. They will duplicate it thrice or multiple times. So it needs to it violates the don't repeat your code principle. So try writing your functions, common functions in a single file or a single class. And the last one is method complexity. So when we are doing online, so when I was in college, so we used to have this aptitude test, and at the end of aptitude test, we used to solve challenges for printing out the correct output. So our only aim was to print the correct output. So there can be multiple, like 7 or 8 nested if statements, multiple for statements, for loops. So let's try to break down that. So if you try to show it to some other classmate or a colleague, they won't be able to understand why we added those many if statements or for loops. So 2 is maximum you can write 2. Then the rest of the code, if there are, instead of trying to nest everything, we can have a separate method, like small concise functions, in order to identify what the code does. Okay, so coming back to the first initial step, that is to have proper naming conventions for variables, function, packages, or file names. It needs to be meaningful, so we can understand what that particular file or what's written in that file does. So this is an example of bad code. You can see I have declared variables like D, T1, T2, and I have added comments like to let the other team member know what D stands for. So this is actually poor practice. So we can improve this and just write what D means, what the comment in the comment, right? You add alarm stem. We can have a meaningful name for that way, like alarm type in this. So it conveys the meaning, like sum of items, or the function, like get item is there, right? So get item, we are able to figure out, we are trying to fetch some item and not some random function like foo or handle click. It needs to have a meaningful name. Okay, now let's get into a example of for loop. So here we have a number n. We don't know what that number signifies, or a of I, a random array, and we are adding. If we add comments, it will violate the clean code principle. So try to minimize comments and try to come up with more meaningful names. So this is refactor it. It can be seen like 20 was actually a decimal number, and we are trying to convert that decimal number into a binary. And the array that we saw, which was a, it was actually a binary number array, which we put in all, which we push all the results into that binary number array. So this is pretty much understandable than the code that we saw earlier, and it conveys that this code is used for writing, is used for converting a decimal number into a binary number. Okay, so I already talked about magic numbers. So here you can see this 4 and 16 are magic numbers. It doesn't have any meaning. You don't understand why we wrote 4 and 16 there. And the p dot length, it doesn't convey anything. So when we refactor this, try to give meaningful names to constants like 4. Here we can say it's it's the minimum password size or the maximum password size, which is 60. And instead of writing conditions, so this is a conditional statement. We can move conditional statements into, extract them into functions. Like I added a new function called is valid password. So it's clear what the condition statement does. So always try to modify your conditional statements and convert them into meaningful functions. Can be small and concise, but try to move them to functions. And there was a handle function here, which we don't know what happens after when you click on that button. And here it's pretty evident that if the password is valid, we log in. So login is the post action which comes after validation of the password. So try to understand the flow of the code and try to write meaningful variables or function names so that it goes with the flow. And the third one, modularization, which is the most important and the core factor of clean code principle. So it's like dividing your complex code, or it can be file also, not just code. Your file organization also depends upon modularization. Modularization taking a live example of modelization, we can see modelization all around us, like our electric devices. Take example of car. So there are separate components in a car, like AC, the sound system, the engine. So suppose something goes wrong, if it's in the AC component, we only need to concern about the AC component. We don't need to check any other component. We can isolate the component and make the fix. And that's one important concept of modelization, separating the functionality of a component. So suppose, let's come back to code base. So suppose you have a module, isolated module, which is not dependent on any of the other modules. Suppose if that module got deprecated or obsolete as time passes, we can modify that module with a new package or install a new module and then make it better, which doesn't concern any of the other components. Okay, let's take a live example. So this function just prints the results, and since it's color coded, it's evident that these are two statements, functions. One is for printing out the factorial, and the second one is for printing out the sum. But ideally, what we want is each function should have a single responsibility. That is the first concept of modelization, to have a single responsibility principle. Here we are not sure why we print results. It prints both the things, factorial and sum. We need to split this into two methods actually, so that each function performs a single responsibility, takes in a single responsibility and does that really well. And consider this. So this follows single responsibility principle. It prints out factorial. The next function prints out the sum. Okay, if we separate our constraints and assign a single responsibility function, we can reuse this. And reusability is one of the major benefits of writing clean code. And the second concept is separation of concept. So whenever we write a code or do a project, we intend to have separate layers. Like these are the common layers that we currently have: view, model, service, and data layer. And the benefit of applying separation of concept is that whenever we do a change or make a change to the view layer, which is the UI layer, it shouldn't affect or it shouldn't have any side effect on the other layers, like data layer. Data layer is attributed to data purposes and schemas, so it shouldn't affect the data layer. So that's the important concept of separation of concerns. And next to separation of concern comes organization of your code. So most people intend to write, so for simple programs, they intend to write everything in a single file, which may go over 500 or 600, maybe 1,000 lines of code. So instead of that, let's have a definite directory structure. So directory structure, so we can navigate and find out which service or which model is where the issue is in the model or a service, and or whether to add a feature in a particular service rather than going through a single file of code. There are two styles for organizing your code, which is most commonly used. One is stack style. So it separates our modules into layers based on the tech stack, and the entity style, which is completely dependent on the entity. So what are the entities that you see here? Here we have guest and hotel and room. These are the entities, and all the controllers, model, service layer, everything that comes inside that is related to this entity is grouped inside this entity. You can see guest, all the controller, model, repo, service, everything is grouped into this guest entity. So you can follow any one of these styles. Just confirm that it's well organized. Okay, then this is one concept, small concept, but really important, because to keep it simple and short. So as developers, we have different approaches to solve a problem. Like we can like a lengthy method, long method, or try to keep it minimal based on the methods that are offered by a coding language. Like for taking the case of JavaScript, there are a few methods that they offer. Like you see here, filter, map, reduce. So even when we use these predefined methods, we can actually reduce the number of lines of code and make it concise. So here we are filtering it based on if we are filtering name, email, or role based on a search string, basically search function. Here we have defined 3 statements to filter out related to these 3: name, email, role, and we are concatenating each of the result and trying to see if it contains any of the search string. So this seems to be complex and lot of lines of code, and which we can reduce to this simple function, and we can use we can clearly use the check here. You can see the username includes, email includes, role includes. So all the functionalities are defined here inside this small function. So any large code base or large number of lines, if you write in a function, we can always have an option to, we should always try to make it smaller, split it into smaller chunks, so that it can be reusable and maintainable. And this is a sign that you don't understand your program better, your product well. So try to understand the logic and try to come up with small simple functions. Okay. Then related to that is the don't repeat yourself principle, which is don't duplicate your code. Taking this example, these are functions inside the mechanic class. So there is a washing process related to all of these methods. So since this is common to all of these methods, we can add a separate function called wash vehicle and do the processing in that method and call the method in all of these parent methods. So instead of duplicating the code, try to have a single common function and reuse it wherever it is needed. Yeah. So what are the advantages of don't repeat, of removing duplicate code or not writing duplicate code? So first of all, is easy to fix. We can figure out where the issue or the bug is, and then it saves a lot of time, and it leads to more maintainability. Okay. The last step. This is method complexity. So as I already mentioned, we intend to write code nested statements because it's easier for us to get the program working, but it will be difficult for the other colleague or team member to go through the code and understand the logic. So you should definitely break this code into smaller chunks. You can see I split the function into separate functions so that nested structure is not there. So these functions we can have give meaningful names also, and we can identify, like suppose function 1 is sum of metrics, and based on some condition, if you give function 1 like sum of metrics a name, it will be easier for us to identify what happens when we go into that for loop. What is the condition that is getting applied? So it reduces the effort to debug and improves testing purposes also. If you reduce the complexity of each method, it will be easier to write unit tests, easier to debug. Okay. So the end goal of writing clean code is reusability. So what we are writing here is reusable components. So to have reusable components, we should follow this principle that I already mentioned. So some of classes should have appropriate behavior and attributes, and it should have meaningful names. Don't duplicate your code. Better methods in the sense, group common functions into a separate for a class and reuse them wherever you want. Okay. So that's about how we can write clean code and about the major concepts of clean code. So next you will go on and see how to upload and how to run and submit code in Geektrust platform. Once you go on to Geektrust website, okay. Once you go on the Geektrust website, once you log in, you can go to the coding challenges section, and you can see there are challenges based on each role: back end, front end, mobile. You can select one role. one coding challenge. So I'm selecting Metro card. So once you open the challenge, you can see the problem statement. The context is clearly written, and the actions that are done. And once you read through the problem, you will be able to identify the domain concept of the problem, the objects that the classes that we can write, the objects that we can create, and the actions that we need to type in as functions or methods. And the end goal is also clearly written. So here also the end goal is to generate the correct output. There will be a certain set of input statements, and you need to generate the correct output for that. So before we to start off by solving Geektrust challenges, before we apply the concepts of clean code, what I suggest is that let's try to read to the problem, maybe write it down, try to solve it and get the correct IO first. Like in whatever clean code principles you apply it then and there, and after that you do run test and see your feedback and analyze your feedback, and then apply clean code principles and then make it better. So if you do it like that, you will be able to attain most of these badges. So each submission we do, we will get separate badges, and the aim is to get a minimum of score. Like we prefer 30 as the score limit, so that above 30, the chances of you getting connected to companies is very high. So to get 30, you need to earn some badges. So there are 6 badges for this coding challenge. First is readability. As I mentioned, if you follow the concepts like avoid magic numbers, avoid write concise and short compact methods, your code should be expressive. If you follow these principles, you will definitely get the readability badge. And if you avoid the chance of code duplication in your code, you will receive the maintainability badge and object model. So if you follow object model principle like abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, you will definitely receive the object modeling. You have to have you have to understand the domain and write the classes accordingly, and create objects whenever needed, and write methods that handle a single responsibility. If you follow all of that, you will definitely receive the object modeling badge. Then correctness. Correctness you will receive when you get the correct output. So there might be the sample IOs, right? When you get the desired output, you will be awarded with the correctness badge. And test. So try to write unit test as much as possible. And if your unit test coverage is above 70%, you will definitely receive the test badge. And try to add a build tool. So a build tool is something that helps you to compile your code and generate executable for your code. So whenever you're working on a project, try to always use a build tool, because it will ease your effort in running your project. Okay. So there are certain build instructions that you need to follow. You can click on build instructions and see all the instructions for a specific language. Suppose if you are going to solve a Java problem, your problem in Java language, you can go to this help docs and see how you can accomplish, how you can follow certain steps to receive build correctness or unit test badge. So in case of Java, you can use Maven or Gradle. If you come to Node.js, you can use Yarn or NPM. So it depends upon the developer, whichever you are comfortable with. Please try to use a build tool when you're maybe to get the build patch. Okay. So we provide starter kits for most of the backend languages. So for Go, I'm going to download the starter kit. So the starter kit enables you to kickstart your process of solving a Geektrust coding challenge. So I'm going to open this in VS Code. Once you open your starter kit, download this. Okay, open. Let's open our starter kit and try writing code here. Okay. Okay, you need to unzip it actually. So the idea is to always use a starter kit because it will help you in building your code, and then it will be easy to write unit test, and it will help you in the flow. Okay. Code starter kit. You just open this file using VS Code. Yeah. So most of the packages are already implemented. So you just need to start writing code once you have downloaded the starter kit. And don't try to, please be wary about writing all the functions of code in one single file. Try to have a definite organization for your code. Okay. So there are starter kits available for most of the languages. As you can see, there are separate different options. You can make use of them. And once you have solved your challenge, let's go to the submit code page, and let's select one challenge. So I'm selecting Metro card. Language I'm putting it Node.js 14.1 build tool. Chances of getting build tool is build badge is high. So let's add a build tool. I have used npm for this challenge. Once the code is uploaded, let's declare that we didn't copy that, and I'm the sole author of this code. And there are some do's and don'ts that we need to follow. Make sure that you upload source files in zip format, zip, rar, gz, or gzip. And please don't upload the starter kit because you will be marked as plagiarized. And we should remove all the executables or the non-modules file. We will build them when we do a test code. And if we click on test code, you can see these are the parameters that your code gets evaluated to. Related and get the readability badge. You will get the results in about 2 to 5 minutes most of the time. Correctness, you can see I passed only 2 IOs, the rest 2 I failed. So I go back and identify what I did wrong, then fix it, and again come back here, run test until I get a positive feedback. So, so if you go here, so this is code submission. You can have we'll give you an expressive feedback about your each criteria like readability. You can see what went wrong, and you can go back and try to fix this feedback, and again run multiple times. And then once you have finalized that your code has passed most of the parameters, then you can submit your code and we will get back with an evaluation. Okay, you can submit your code here and we will get back with an evaluation. Yeah, so that's about uploading code. And yeah, so as Namrata mentioned, we have certain help docs in help at Geektrust.com. So if you go there, you can see multiple articles mentioning how to earn badges, how to get started with the coding challenge. So here you can see different articles on how you can earn badges for a particular programming language. Yeah, there are code snippets also. Please go through them before after writing code. Please go through them and apply clean code principles as much as possible. And you can mail any queries to help@geektrust.in, and we are also available on WhatsApp. We have shared the Discord link in the chat. And if you want to read more about clean code, you can go. We have blogs written for that. You can go and read about what clean code is, and to get more idea of what clean code is and how to make your code more cleaner. Yeah, how to apply these principles in your code. Okay, yeah, that's it. Yeah, before winding up, one more thing. So the benefit of clean code is that you will be able to understand your product, which in turn, which helps you to understand the code base, which leads to faster development process and a maintainable product, which is the end goal of a software development product cycle, is a maintainable product, which clean code helps us to build. Yeah, that's it. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Sabin. I just wanted to quickly take a minute to show you all the Geektrust code portfolio. So like Sabin, yeah, Sabin, could you stop sharing? Thank you. Yeah. So once you submit your Geektrust code, like Sabin demoed, you can upload your code, you can run tests, get feedback on what is good, what is not, what mistakes you might have made, and you can go ahead, change it, and keep testing. But you can also go ahead and upload your code. And I think some of the folks in the chat have also asked if you can re-upload the code, right? So you can re-upload the code as many times as you'd like. Right. So when you upload your code, it finally goes through an evaluation, and your evaluation details are found in your code portfolio. So you can go here and click on My Portfolio. You will also receive an email which will tell you, which will give you the details as well. But you can come here on the platform and check. So when you come here, you can get a sense of, how much did you score on this platform? Sorry, on the coding challenge. So in this example, I've scored 21. And it also shows me what badges I've earned and what I've not earned. And I can further go in and look at the report. So in this case, I can go in and see that, I've solved the ledger coding problem. I've only earned the build badge, right? I've not earned the rest of the badges. And I can further look at the details in my code portfolio where it talks about, like I've earned the build badge and this is why I've earned the build badge. But when it comes to readability, for example, I have not earned the readability badge. And I can really understand why I've not earned the readability badge, right? It talks about how my code does not follow single responsibility principle, how it could be structured better and split into multiple files. Further, it talks about how, there are magic numbers in my code, which Sabin covered, right? And if I'm curious to know why there are, what magic numbers are there in my code, I can click on View More, and it'll talk, and we'll explain to you what are magic numbers. And we will also tell you that we found 4 instances of magic numbers in your code. And we'll show you examples as well, if we can find examples, right? So for example, for expressive code, it talks about how there are 20 instances of in your code which are non-expressive, and it even further goes into talking about how in this particular file you can see that there is a variable which does not have the right kind of naming convention. So you get this detailed feedback on your code portfolio. You get targeted help as well. You can click on this to look at specific code snippets, etc. when it comes to the badge. And you can click on View More to look at examples of the issues that we found so that you can go ahead and fix it. And all your submissions will come into this code portfolio. And your code portfolio always talks about your best score when it comes to your submissions. Right. So yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to cover. You can also download whatever code you had uploaded before so that you can work on it again, and you can resubmit the code when you're ready. And go ahead, test, and when you feel you're ready, upload the code. So that's what I wanted to cover. Back to you, Krishnan.
Thanks, Namrata. So everybody, we are done with the session. Thank you so much for your time. Sagar, I see you have raised your hand. Could you please ask your question in chat and we'll respond to you. Thank you so much. And apologies for going a little bit over time. I'll just wind up by saying that I just want to call out what's coming next. So we have a One Code Java event, which is coming up next. You can check out our events page for it. It's happening on 4th March. We have a women specific event that is coming up. So for the women out there and if your friends out there, please ask them to go ahead and register for this event. We'll be doing another Get Set Geektrust event as well. And post which, we'll also be doing a One Code weekend for Go, Ruby on Rails, etc. and so on. So bunch of events coming up. You can follow them on our events page. Now, before you go, the next steps really are to make sure your profile is updated so that the right opportunities find you. take the time, take the effort to make sure you put in relevant information. It will help you out. The second part and the important piece is to go ahead and take up a coding challenge. So typically what we ask is you can take up any coding challenge you want. You can go explore what coding challenges are available and pick any of them up. If not, just reply to our mail. I think you would have got a mail from us asking which coding challenge, I mean, whether you're a backend, full stack, front end, etc. So if you can reply to that mail, what sort of challenge you want, we will send out a specific challenge to you as well. So either ways, we can make sure that it is covered. Okay, so before you all log off, I have one last task. We have a couple of polls. We have 3 polls, in fact, just to give us feedback. It should take you all of a minute to do it. So we do wait till the poll is complete and then log off for the day. Thank you so much. Dennis, can you launch the first poll? All right, Dennis, thank you so much again. Dennis, can you put up the next poll? Yeah. All your inputs help us make sure these sessions get better. And the next set of participants, you're helping us make our sessions better. So thanks so much for taking the time to do this. Okay, thanks again. And the last poll for the day, Dennis. Thank you. Excellent. So everybody, thank you very much. We look forward to seeing your code and to help you build out the new resume and find fantastic opportunities. Thanks, one and all.